3 years ago, Claude Partridge, a property developer from London, had a vision for his county house building in Kennington. After extensive research, he approached Moduloft, the UK's leading modular design specialists, and the project began. Over the following months, off-site construction at the North Yorkshire factory saw the modules ready for transportation on time ahead of the lift date. The first of the modules arrived early on Saturday morning, but this wasn't going to be a traditional Moduloft lift. The modules this time were lifted off the wagons but not put on the roof due to Moduloft receiving some last-minute information from Lambeth Council. A week before the construction was to be transported to London, Moduloft were informed that due to the size of the modules, they would face transport restrictions in central London. Firstly, the wagons carrying the modules weren't allowed to travel through London in the daylight during the week. And secondly, the modules weren't allowed to be lifted at the weekend after lunchtime on Saturday. This meant that Moduloft had to change their plans with only days to go before the lift began. The lift schedule changed. Instead of the normal Moduloft process of lifting the modules straight off the wagons and onto the roof, the modules were lifted into the back garden of County House. This would be in line with Lambeth Council's guidelines. As the modules arrived, they were unloaded and lifted over the house and into the back garden. Moduloft and their haulage partners are experts at lifting timber-framed, pre-constructed building projects, and soon the modules were lifted over County House and placed on Claude Partridge's back lawn. With no more building work permitted after lunchtime on the Saturday, the team waited until Monday morning when the final lift could start. Claude Partridge allowed the Moduloft team to stay on site in some of his flats, so work started first thing Monday morning. Like with all the Moduloft projects on lift day, the first module is the most critical. The design has been constructed to the finest detail, as Claude wanted the new modules to line up with existing building features on the original building. With such fine margins of error, the team moved the first module into place. Once the lifting team were happy with that, the next modules are lifted onto the roof. Each module is carefully placed next to the previous one, and then pre-drilled bolt holes allow each module to be bolted to the adjacent one. The demolition team had done an excellent job preparing the roof plate, and the modules lined up perfectly. By lunchtime, Claude was already looking at the first flat in place.
Very excited. You've got to be really. This has been in the pipeline for 2.5, 3 years maybe, with planning and everything. And finally I'm seeing the modules arrive. It's fabulous. From across the street, I'm very impressed with how it looks. The lead dormers look fantastic. Huge improvement, I think, to the building than how it started. And when you think a week ago, this time last week, the whole roof was on, and the boys arrived literally 7 days ago, and this is what's happened in 7 days. The brickwork's got to go on the back, plus a little bit on the front. I like the fact that the slate roof, although the original roof on this building was tiles, I think slate is much more in keeping with the neighbourhood. So I'm very pleased, and I think the detailing, as I say, on the dormers is lovely. I can't wait to see the whole thing finished.
The lift carried on as there was a threat of bad weather in the afternoon. Again, the precise calculations of the construction meant that all the modules went together perfectly. The lifting of modules 6 and 7 was quite tight, as they had to be manoeuvred up off the drive and through the tight space between the two buildings, before being lowered onto the roof space. Over the next couple of hours, the remaining modules were lifted into place, completing the County House lift.
Thrilled. It's a great weight off my mind. It's now done. So it's been fabulous. 3 years in the making, and I'm now finally seeing the modules on. I think the time that has been saved in the project, I was discussing it with the architect only half an hour ago, and we reckon it's saved 6 months. I think if you'd done this project in a normal traditional way, I don't think you'd have still had to have vacated the tenants in the main block because of all the collateral damage, particularly due to the windows going in. But I'm not sure how they would have reacted to paying good rents for maybe 6, 8, 9 months of scaffolding, noise, general construction, whilst they've only had to be out for some of them 2 to 3 months. And as a result, I think there's been tremendous savings that front. Well, I think anybody who's got a sizable sort of loft in London, and there are plenty of them, whether they're sort of decent housing or blocks of flats like this, can benefit from it. In fact, I was just chatting to my architect, and he was saying, frankly, if you've got an above average sized loft conversion to do, this makes perfect sense, because the disruption to the family while it's being done is minimal. You wouldn't have got, I don't think, as good a job as we got had it been in a traditional method over this winter. So that has reinforced my view that I made the right decision to use Moduloft.
Once again, another extremely satisfied Moduloft customer. For Claude, his vision has been transformed into reality, proving that when it comes to bespoke modular construction, Moduloft are the industry leaders.